So I would like for us to go on a journey real quick, down memory lane. And if this journey feels a bit troublesome, understand that there are going to be people around you who relate to the journey we're about to take. So by a show of hands, and make sure you raise them high, how many of you have ever been told no to something you really wanted? Whether it's a job, promotion, raise, college, a quarter to get something from the gumball machine, right, or to borrow money to get something from the store. All right, perfect. Congratulations, you're all a part of the Losers Club with me. At this moment, I would like for us to just focus on that experience with rejection. Some of us are survivors of it today, but some of us still bear the scars of it. But it is within those scars we will find crucial information on the work that needs to be done between the intersection of sexual assault, interpersonal violence, and engaging men. So I would like to share one of my experiences with rejection, because if I was to share all of them, we'd be here for a few days. It is this particular experience that has influenced my development of a men's engagement violence prevention curriculum titled Rolling with Rejection. It was the summer 2006, a beautiful Sunday morning where my mother usually forces me to wake up to go to church. Although this morning didn't require much effort because I knew the girl I had a crush on was going to be there. You could call it me reaching for my love and belonging needs, for those who are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Anyway, after extraneous preparation, i.e. referencing back to all the movies I've seen of confident men approaching women, referencing back to all the feedback I've received from male figures in my life. Feedback like, you better make sure you look confident. Women love a confident man. Remember, Gene, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Now, honestly, at that time, I didn't know what any of that meant, especially the last one and how that related to what I was about to do. Nonetheless, I convinced myself that I was going to approach her. In convincing myself that I was going to approach her, I decided to just kind of hone in and channel all the energy that I had from confident men. Now, of course, at that time, my mother knew that I had a crush in church. Call it a mother's intuition, a Haitian sixth sense, or me just being plain obvious about it. Nonetheless, the time came for me to talk to her. Now, when I was face to face with my crush, my voice began to tremble, and my hands started to shake, and all the channeled energy of confident men pretty much vanished. Instead, what was left was a vulnerable young boy tripping over his words and eventually being told no. Now, as you can imagine, the floodgates of insecurities and problematic belief systems open. Thoughts like, if only I was taller and looked much more muscular, I would have had a better chance. If only I appeared older, much more mature. If only my mother wasn't there with me. She doesn't deserve a good person like me anyway. Why does being nervous have to be an automatic strike against me? And the last thought was, if I was much more of a jerk and not too nice, I might have had a better chance. Now, as you can see, all of these thoughts were rooted in distortions and very problematic. But nonetheless, these thoughts left me feeling sad, frustrated, disappointed, doubtful in myself, disgusted, and angry. Now, one of the cardinal rules within masculinity, particularly within my household, is that you never let them see you sad. You man up and you move on. So although my heart dropped into the bottom of my stomach and My nerves were out of whack. The only thing that I could say was, okay, and walk away. As I returned to my mother, of course, my mother inquired about how it went. I told my mother what she said, and my mother's response was, Junior, next time, you got to have much more confidence in yourself. Men should never be afraid to talk to women. Now, part of my mother's feedback made sense. Confidence in oneself is important. But all of it felt steeped in internalized ideas on what a man should be. It was at this moment I started to reflect on what were the other belief systems that were present for me at that time. Belief systems like, as a man, you must appear confident even if you are inexperienced in sex or pursuing a person of interest. Men are hunters, which makes everyone else prey, particularly women. As a man, if you do what a man is supposed to do, what you want is guaranteed. Now, all of these belief systems left me at a place of insecurity and definitely questioning the approach I took and what I could have done better. It was at this moment that I decided to critically think about what are the things that needed to be done for me to challenge masculinity. And it was at this moment that I decided, or even I would say that I knew, I couldn't have been the only man in this world who felt constrained by these belief systems and acted out based on it. Now, fortunately, my response to that situation did not elevate to a level of violence, right? But it definitely had the potential to, based on how quickly my sadness transitioned into anger. And sadly, it is not uncommon for us men to express our hurt with rejection through verbal violence and physical violence. And unfortunately, some men's response to rejection has resulted in too many deaths. And so it was at this moment that I also realized if I wanted men to challenge toxic masculinity, I needed to create safe spaces for men to talk about their experiences, particularly their emotional experiences with toxic masculinity. If I wanted men to understand why healthy practices of consent are very important, I needed to equip men with pro-social tools on how to cope with rejection. Because rejection is inevitable, right? As you saw in the audience, many of us raised our hands and all have intimate experience with rejection. I also realized that if I wanted to change the narrative of sexual assault, interpersonal violence, stalking, street harassment as women's issues, I needed to also understand and increase awareness on the connection between men's violence and men's pain. It was at this moment that I also started thinking about what are the best ways to approach conversation. Oftentimes for us men, when we talk about perpetration, right, we become defensive. And we start to other ourselves from the perpetrator, even though we have a lot in common with them, sad to say. But I wanted to approach a topic I wanted to approach a topic that felt like it was relatable, something that no one in the room could deny that we've experienced. And so this led to my development of Rolling with Rejection. Within that curriculum or that workshop, I would say, as men, we had the opportunity to challenge all those issues in one sitting. In that space, I asked men to take a journey with me. And this was a journey that was vulnerable, that was transparent, and that was safe. This journey meant that in this room, as men, we had to acknowledge some of the scary thoughts we have when it comes to experiencing rejection. Because as some of us can imagine, when we say things out loud, right, it almost scares us, right, to actually even think or believe that we can think the things that we do. But nonetheless, I wanted to create that safe space for us to do that. Within rolling with rejection, it was important that I brought myself into the conversation. It was important that I let men know that in this space, I'm not trying to ask you to not be men. Right? Instead, what I'm trying to ask is that we become healthier men. Oftentimes, we ask men to transition and change almost immediately without understanding the complexities that men experience emotionally. Toxic masculinity causes the host themselves to repress while also oppressing the individuals around us. So I truly believe that in order for us to do violence prevention work, that men need to be liberated from toxic masculinity. It is not enough to just have the conversation or discussion around how men can be allies, although that's an important piece. It is not enough for us to have the conversation on how men perpetrate, although that's an important piece. What we need to do is we need to couple accountability and validation. Accountability creates defense. Solely validation, almost for some people, feels like it just allows us to kind of escape through. But together, those tools can be very powerful. Imagine a world where young boys know how to roll with rejection. Imagine if the young version of myself that I started with understood that the rejection I experienced was not personal. That understood that the rejection I experienced was not about who I am as an individual. That rejection did not have to be a defining moment of myself. That instead, I can use this as an opportunity to critically think on how to be a better person. I can use this as an opportunity to emotionally empower myself to be able to move on and move forward. And it doesn't have to come at the expense of my own identity, my own gender expression, and it doesn't have to come at the expense of others around me. So I ask all of you to definitely practice rolling with rejection and to encourage men to be healthier men. Thank you very much.